welcome to Big Muddy Mayhem, the podcast where we talk about true crime and bad behavior in the Midwest.
Each week, we'll bring you 2 stories from the heartland that might break your heart, but we hope to entertain you along the way.
I'm Janet O'Brien.
I'm Tracey Laricha.
Hello!
Hello! Janet, how are you?
Good. It's been a
couple of days.
Yes. But it's fine. Everything's fine.
Absolutely. We just spent the eclipse in Indiana and a night before in Chicago.
Yep.
Where I got to sidle up next to my future ex-husband.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun. And oh gosh, so much good food. Ryder had the rest of that agnolotti that I brought back from Italian Village. And he was like, this is so good.
Yeah, it is.
So tasty. And then, man, the campsite,
that was an amazing campsite.
It really was. Like, we went to Harmony State Park, y'all, in Indiana.
Yep.
And not overcrowded, even for this super big event.
Right, it was all sold out, but they weren't letting anybody into the park really, unless.
And they didn't oversell it either. Like the toilets were clean the whole time. The showers were clean.
I know.
The whole time. You could just walk right up and be 2 people deep in line to buy a cheeseburger, which. Like, it was all so good.
No, it's like I was watching all the video, the pictures and stuff on social media about, like, I'm waiting in line, I'm stuck in this traffic jam, and I'm like, we're not.
It took us maybe an extra hour and a half to get home.
But that wasn't a big deal.
That wasn't that bad. And part of it was weather, and part of it was just, like, road conditions.
Right.
But, we ended up, I felt so VIP the whole time. Everything was so great. And good to spend it with friends and stuff. So
that was
that's
awesome.
It. Yeah, I was going to say. So a pretty good weekend. Ryder and I are going to Book of Mormon tonight.
That'll be fun.
And you've got game night.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, I was going to say. But before we can get to all of that, we've got to get to our stories.
We have stories to tell.
All right.
I think I'm first.
You are first.
So I'm going to start off by saying, did you ever watch Unsolved Mysteries with Robert Stack?
Some of it, yes. I love his voice.
I know, so do I. I love his voice. So, and, I always think of, like, the movie Airplane, because he was totally in that.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you seen the thing where they slow his voice down by 50%?
Mm-mm.
And they were like, if you slow down Robert Stack's voice, it sounds like every drunk at a bar. It's like, and that is when they noticed that her keys were still in her wallet.
That's really funny.
I will find that and send it to you.
Cool.
Okay, so anyway, Unsolved Mysteries.
I got to end up, part of my research was watching an episode of Unsolved Mysteries. And I'm like, oh no, I love the show.
The things we do for our listeners.
And I just forgot how sensationalized that show was. I mean, I know most, like, mysteries or unsolved mystery stuff, they are all over sensationalized. But this one in particular was, I mean, you got Robert Stack. Let's just start right there.
Right, of course.
So that was, I saw this and I watched that and I did some more research and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going with the story. It's not a super long story, but it's definitely interesting.
Don't you ever get to the end of those, though, and you're like, but what happened?
But you know what? The funny thing is when I was rewatching that episode, they actually had updates from, like,
I love it.
They're like, remember when we talked about this? Well, here's the update.
That's
they got
very
arrested.
Ooh, that's satisfying. Tell me all about it.
Well, this one not so much, but that's okay. I mean, kinda. You'll see. Have you ever heard?
Go on.
Go on. Have you ever heard of Clarence Roberts?
Clarence Roberts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think so.
Okay, so basically what caught me on this story is this is the story of the man who died twice.
Okay.
Supposedly. March 5th, 1918, Clarence Roberts was born in Nashville, Indiana, which, when I watched the Unsolved Mysteries, apparently there was only like 700 people in this town. So I'm like, seriously, it's a small town.
We both have small town Indiana stories.
Oh no! Are you kidding me?
I'm not even joking. But go on. Go on.
How do we do that?
I don't know.
We don't know each other's stories. I swear. Okay. Anyway. I'm like, why is she laughing at me? Oh.
Because we did it again.
We did it again. He's the 5th child of Joseph and Frances Roberts. Joseph was his farmer. Frances, I guess, was just a housewife, probably helped out on the farm.
Okay.
They had 7 children. Vernice, Dolly, James, Dale, Clarence, the person we're talking about, Carson, and Warren. Now, Joseph apparently was previously married before he married Frances. Yeah, it didn't say if they got a divorce. It didn't say anything about that.
We don't know anything about Joseph's first wife.
No. Other than that, he was previously married to Nancy Eunice Crouch, and they had 5 children together. Okay. So Joseph apparently likes having kids.
He got around. I was going to say. Vasectomies were not a thing.
Yeah, and then supposedly Joseph did have a child with another woman, but we don't know.
Surely not.
Or, what the child was, or who that was, or who he was with.
All we need to know about Joseph is he fogged.
He liked the ladies. Clarence, he ended up serving. That's the 5th child, the person we're talking about.
Joseph was serving too.
Clarence served in the Army during World War II.
Boy, did he. Sorry, I'll quit now. Okay.
Clarence became the county sheriff in 1950 in the area of Nashville. Mm-hmm. I think it's called Brown County. Clarence ended up marrying a woman by the name of Velma Seitz. They were married. Then, I guess, they got a divorce, and then he ended up getting married a second time to Geneva Faye White. Geneva was the daughter of James and Laura White.
Okay.
In 1941, Geneva and Clarence had a son named Bernard.
Okay.
The couple was well liked. I mean, it was the sheriff and the kind of
area. Sheriff's wife. Everybody, you're like pillars of the community.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Per the residents, the couple deeply loved each other and they cared for their child. Mm-hmm. So, just regular old couple.
Just that one? Where did all the others go? Are they all just with mom?
No. This is Clarence. We're talking about Clarence, not Joseph.
Sorry.
So in October of 1970, Clarence, he's 52 years old at this point.
Okay.
He ran a hardware store with one of his brothers, Carson, in their hometown of Nashville, Indiana. The store was very successful. Clarence, however, did enjoy a very lavish lifestyle.
Okay.
So he spent more than what he had.
Right.
He had a very large house and 3 expensive cars. Mm-hmm. Clarence...
3?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I guess he wanted to be a car collector. Who knows, right?
Okay, Jay Leno.
Right? Yeah. He doesn't have Jay Leno money. Clarence was in debt because of this. And because of that, the hardware store just could not support his lifestyle. So he ended up selling the hardware store.
Okay.
He used the funds that he got from the hardware store and invested in grain elevation and an apartment complex.
Oh, okay. All right, so he's just putting into a new endeavor.
Right. Both investments did not pan out.
Oh.
So not good. At one point, the sheriff, who also was Clarence's brother, one of his brothers, had to come and repossess one of Clarence's expensive cars.
Oh, that has to be really rough.
Yeah.
Like, hey.
Right. So this is in October of 1970. Just kind of have pinpoint
1970,
that.
okay.
So, pretty much, Clarence and Geneva are broke at this point. Then on November 8th, a month later, 1970, a fire broke out in a barn that belonged to Clarence and Geneva. They found a man burned beyond recognition in the barn.
Okay. And did they know there was a man in the barn? This is a surprise.
The arms and legs were missing from the body.
Okay, so this man came into the barn completely unbeknownst to them, and then his arms and legs fell off, and then he burned to death?
I guess. They did find a shotgun laying across the corpse's chest.
And there's a shotgun across his chest. This happens
all the time.
Who among us hasn't been there?
It looked like somebody had taken their own life. That's what it appeared.
Now I feel like an asshole.
So when the medical examiner examined the body, he found no gunshot wounds. So it was kind of suspicious. Why is this gun laying across this guy's chest?
It's very hard to shoot yourself when you don't have any arms or legs, I would imagine. Like, is this Johnny? Is this the origin story of Johnny Got Your Gun?
The coroner would not sign off on the case of suicide.
And neither would Metallica.
According to the firefighters, the flames were so hot that they claimed it burned the limbs off of his body. That's what they claimed. Because it was very, very hot. They did find a Masonic ring underneath the man, and it was engraved with Clarence Roberts' name. So they're right now assuming, he went broke.
And now we've brought the Masons into this.
It's the night, it's a small
the
town.
1970s.
Yeah, 1970. They've been living in this town his entire life. There's 700 people in it. What are you going to do? There's not a lot to do.
Okay.
Yeah. So, he became a Mason. So they find this ring under the body with Clarence Roberts' name on it, and they notice the ring is not burnt. And they're like, that's kind of weird, because if the fire was so hot to burn off his legs
and legs, right.
and there's nothing going on with this ring, that seems a little suspicious. Now, there were rumors that around town that Clarence had spoken to an acquaintance that he was depressed and he was crying a lot, so he was suicidal. So they're thinking, because of all of his misfortune, losing all his money, maybe he killed himself.
Mm-hmm.
So the remains were again examined by the Indiana State Police. They compared his dental records. They did not match Clarence's.
Okay.
Blood samples were also taken, and it showed the blood type was AB, which is also not a match to Clarence. I think he was just A.
Okay.
They also found some butchering marks on the bones.
Okay.
So his limbs were forcefully removed. They did not burn off.
But was the cocaine okay?
They ended up, because they're like, okay, we found butchering marks, we've checked his dental records, it doesn't match Clarence, but Clarence has disappeared.
Okay, so Clarence is in the wind, and this guy is just hacked up and
burnt to death in their barn. Now,
with different teeth.
Right, exactly. This is not the same as what's her face that was up in, I can't remember her name now. I'm the one who did that story where they found her teeth, but it was like her dentures.
Right.
Which she could have easily just like, nope, I'm out.
Right, exactly.
Dentures. I'll go find more. They ended up burying this man in an unmarked grave since it was clearly not Clarence. Mm-hmm. Who was the man? Rumors spread that he faked his own death to his financial downfall.
Okay, that makes sense. Perhaps.
Just months before this man died in their barn, there was a $1 million life insurance policy that was taken out on Clarence.
Oh, by?
I think both him and his wife signed off on it.
Oh, okay. So is that Geneva? Geneva's.
Yeah.
Like so. All right. So she stands to inherit now.
Right, but the policy did not pay out due to the suspicious nature of the event.
Oh, right, because there's a whole lot of clauses about if you take your own life that you don't get.
Right, and they couldn't verify it was him because clearly it wasn't him.
They're different, the whole different teeth thing,
right?
No arms and legs thing,
right?
Right, a little bit sketch.
Right, exactly.
Sus, as the kids would say.
Sus. Geneva had to work as a dishwasher to make ends meet. The police did they did this for weeks, where they did a surveillance of Geneva to see if she was a part of this crime, but nothing came of the surveillance. There were some strange things that happened, however. The shopkeeper
Surely not.
The shopkeepers noticed that when she would go to the store, she would buy large quantities of beer. She did not drink beer because she was diabetic.
Okay.
They felt someone was living in her house, possibly a new lover, or maybe her missing husband.
Oh, okay.
A reporter became friends with Geneva, and every time she would go over there, this is, again, tiny town. Normally when you go to somebody's house, they let you in, they offer you stuff.
Sure.
Geneva would never let anybody come into the house. She'd meet them at the door, she'd come outside.
Hi, hello, sorry, gotta go.
Right,
This, that, and the other, but not like come in, have a glass of tea.
Right,
Would you like a coffee?
Yeah, she never did that.
Can I get you a lemonade or a fresh water?
Exactly, and that was a little weird for this town.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, that's
700 people, you're right. Like
everybody knows each
close
other.
to each other.
Right. So Geneva continued over the years to appeal to the courts about having her husband declared legally dead. Mm-hmm. And then in 1980, they finally declared the man deceased was not Clarence.
No.
I know, right? More evidence. The court said the fire was clearly arson. It was not an accident in the barn.
Oh.
Witnesses came forward during this trial because they did, a trial to try to declare him dead, and saying they had seen Clarence after his death, a strange man walking outside of Geneva's house, out of her home on occasion, sometimes doing yard work and stuff like that.
So he didn't cut his own arms and legs off, pull his own teeth out, and then set himself on fire? Janet, tell me more!
Now, there is a possibility we might know who this man was that died. 2 nights before the fire, some people said they saw Clarence in a tavern in Morgantown, which is a nearby town in Nashville, with a vagrant, a homeless man.
Uh-huh.
And Clarence had bought the homeless man dinner, offered him a job to work odd jobs around their property. And then a short time after this homeless man was, eating his food in the evening at the tavern, the homeless man became very unwell and collapsed.
Oh, and then he said he hated his arms, legs, and teeth.
Clarence told the tavern he would take him to the doctor.
Sure, you will.
But there's no records at all of anybody being treated in Brown County.
Oh, wow. Okay, so he just found somebody that wouldn't be missed.
Right. So, during the trial, again, no evidence of who the man was, but they just know it wasn't Clarence. So they declared Clarence legally alive, but she kept trying to appeal, and it kept getting denied.
Okay.
Because, she's like, oh, what do I do? Now we move to November 29th, 1980, 10 years later.
Oh, dear. Okay.
A month after the appeal, the final appeal trial, declaring him alive, a fire burned Geneva's residence down. So we have a second fire. Mm-hmm. 2 bodies were found.
How many arms and legs did they have?
They had all their legs. They had all their arms. A male and female were identified as Geneva and Clarence Roberts.
What's the teeth situation?
It was actually him.
Actually him, at
him.
least. But what about Geneva?
It was actually her.
Okay.
So through dental and doctor records, they were absolutely sure that this was Clarence Roberts.
Oh, wow. What happened there, then?
Okay, here's the messed up part. The relatives, they believed he died 10 years ago. They were just like, put their head in the sand. Nope, he died 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So they wouldn't even claim his body.
Oh, no.
And what they did, the relatives, they didn't claim his body. They still believe that, the guy who died in 1970 was Clarence. And they ended up taking that body from the unmarked grave from 1970 and burying it next to Geneva.
Oh, no. Now, what about the guy that is probably actually Clarence?
Well, I mean, that's what I mean. They buried that guy next to Geneva.
So, I'm crowded all over.
So they bury her, this homeless man next to her, even though the family's like, nope, that was Clarence. He died 10 years ago. And they never claimed actual Clarence.
Oh, wow.
And then his death was then finally listed as deceased in 1980. Clarence was.
Oh, my gosh.
Things that happened prior to the second fire. In 1975, they did actually indict Clarence, even though they couldn't find him per se, for abduction and murder of a homeless man who was never identified. The second fire, they clearly could tell it was done by arson.
Okay.
They found turpentine and a fuel accelerant. Geneva had been murdered, and Clarence had accidentally died while setting the house on fire.
No!
And he either died from smoke inhalation or intoxication. You remember all the beers we mentioned earlier?
I was going to say, he could have just been like a fire-breathing dragon. It was just like...
And that's really the end of the story. Nobody really has any, he somehow kept himself under wraps, probably living with her, and they're not even...
For 10 years.
Yeah, because they could never completely identify him, so while he was still alive between those 10 years, I mean, there's possibilities that maybe he moved back at the last minute, maybe she had some other guy living with her, maybe he got mad because she was living with somebody else and not really trying to share it.
Talk about keeping stuff under wraps, though. Right. 10 years?
In a tiny 700-person town.
Get yourself a girl like Geneva. Everybody needs a Geneva in their life.
Just so crazy. So
not
a long story, but it's a good story.
No, it's absolutely a good story. Oh my gosh.
So that's my story.
Wow. Thank you. That was wild.
So you have a story for me?
Mm-hmm. I know, and then you kind of wonder, though, who was the other person with the no arms, the no legs? Well, I guess it was the homeless guy, but, who was he? What was
they never figured that out.
Deal? I don't know.
So crazy.
So, I do have a story for you.
Okay.
I told you just the tiniest little bit about this as we were driving back from Indiana.
Okay.
Because I mentioned that along the border of Indiana and Illinois, there was something called the Bull Island Music Festival.
Oh, yes!
Now, this took place on Labor Day weekend of 1972.
Oh, okay.
Between September the 2nd and September the 4th. Now, in order to talk about this, the first thing that we have to do is we have to talk about Bull Island. And Bull Island is not necessarily, it is owned by Illinois.
Okay.
But it is technically located in Indiana.
Ah, okay.
And it's kind of out there in the middle. And the Ohio River is on one side, I think. Or it's in one part. And then the Wabash River is what backs up against it on the other side.
Gotcha.
It's not very big. It's only about 1,000 acres.
Okay.
The land belongs to Illinois, but it's only accessible from Indiana.
Ah.
So it was originally supposed to be part of Illinois, and the reason that it's in Indiana territory-ish now is because there was a flood.
Oh.
And there was some kind of a law on the books left over from the Civil War saying that if there was some kind of an earthquake or a flood or whatnot and borders shifted, wherever the land was originally is where it would remain, like who it would belong to.
Okay.
So again, like this place, it ended up in Bull Island. Now, originally though, this was never supposed to take place in Bull Island.
Oh, okay.
This festival was supposed to take place in Chandler, Indiana.
Ah.
A few months earlier, in Evansville, Indiana, the same organizers had something called the Ice Cream Social.
Okay.
That was basically a music festival, but the town organizers were like, oh, ice cream social, what could go wrong? And then they have a whole bunch of hippies.
Oh.
And so they're not going to fall for that twice.
Right.
Locals lobby against this festival, the Bull Island Festival. The mayor shuts it down. But the organizers, and their names are Tom Duncan and Bob Alexander, they are, by this point, $700,000 deep into putting on this festival, and they have sold 55,000 tickets.
Oh my God.
So this has to happen somewhere.
Right.
They already have a full-page ad in the Rolling Stone magazine.
Oh, yeah.
DJs are already talking about it.
That's kind of what they did with Woodstock,
Right.
right?
It's so very similar to Woodstock in a few different times. And so anyway.
And what year is this again? I'm so
this
sorry.
is 1972.
Okay. Wow,
So
around the
this
same
is-
time?
Yeah, this is, I know, small town Indiana, exactly the same time.
Weird.
So Labor Day weekend 1972. Bull Island is the answer. They announced this location last minute. They announce it a week before the actual festival. Because it's supposed to be in Chandler. And so, meanwhile, all of these people are showing up in Chandler who is not at all ready to happen. Like, they don't have hotel rooms. They don't have food.
That's like what raves used to do, remember?
Right,
They would wait till the
completely.
very last minute to tell you where
And
it
then
was.
you get a text message letting you know what sketchy basement you need to go to.
Yes.
Right. So Chandler is overwhelmed, even though there is nothing going on. Also, Bull Island, because of its location, I showed you the map, it's really hard to get to. You have to go you can only get there through Indiana, so you have to kind of go up and around. And again, 1 week out from the festival. So bringing in things like the sets and the stage.
Oh my God.
All of the structural work, all of that, you can't get there. Now, they have put a bunch of structural things into place in Chandler.
Oh
Where they planned to have the festival.
no! Oh my God.
So there are wells drilled there. There is parking there. They have latrines set up for 55,000 people.
Oh my God.
Set up in Chandler, where there is not a festival. Janet.
Tracy.
Janet.
Tracy.
Janet.
Tracy.
Guess how many people?
Okay, so you said 55,000.
Uh-huh.
It was more than that, I assume. I'm gonna guess 80. Do the okay. We're gonna play prices right. 80. 80. Higher or lower?
Higher.
90.
Higher.
100.
Higher.
120.
Higher.
150.
Higher. Higher.
Are you kidding me?
Between 250 to 300,000
Jesus
people.
Christ!
They stopped selling tickets and tore down the fences because people were just rioting and climbing over them.
So this is like Woodstock too.
It totally is. It totally is. So there is also, by the way, there's a huge lineup. I am going to show you
The lineup, okay.
the lineup. So it's the faces.
Oh wow, we
Includes
got
and not limited
Joe
to
Cocker,
Joe Cocker, Fleetwood Mac, Black Sabbath,
Allman
Rod
Brothers,
Stewart, the Allman
Cheech
Brothers,
and Chong. I've
Cheech
seen
and
them.
Chong, the Eagles,
The
the
Eagles.
Doors, Ravi Shankar.
Wow. Oreo
I mean-
Speedwagon.
Uh-huh. Or did you just say Oreo speedwagon?
Yes, I did. Bagel.
Now I want Oreo. Oreo Speedwagon is going to be So it's a ton of people that are supposed to be there. Now this event is
Foghat. I'm sorry. Oh,
Foghat too.
Right.
This event is not well planned.
Clearly.
This is going to make Firefest look like a 5-star.
Yes.
And let's look at why. So, this is what is promised. They claim that there's going to be a 3,000-man security force that will surround the festival. That they promise that you are going to have access to your automobile at all times. And that food and drink are going to be available at reasonable prices, and that you are going to have adequate restrooms.
Sure.
They printed this on the flyer that they put out in the whole full-page ad in Rolling Stone magazine and all that. So we have 250 to 300,000 people. Guess how many toilets?
I'm gonna guess like 50.
It's fewer than your fingers.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
Guess again.
8?
Janet.
5?
6.
Oh, God! I've been to Bonnaroo, and they had plenty of toilets, and they still needed more.
But they had more than 6. So hence, we have something called the turd fields. I'm very sorry to tell you that right when you were taking a drink of coffee. I'm so sorry. They have a whole flat area that is kind of near the river, and it's just sort of like a muddy ass field.
Oh my God.
Muddier asses than
yeah.
you would expect. But they call it the turd fields, and that has just kind of become, you know, in The Office where they all get stuck in the elevator and they establish a designated pee corner.
Yes! I didn't watch that show, but I do remember that.
The turd fields are established as the designated pooping grounds. Guess how many police? We were gonna have 3,000.
I'm gonna guess like 15.
3.
Nothing can go wrong.
3
cups.
Getting into the festival is really difficult because there's only one road that goes to the actual campsite.
Oh my God.
And it had just been finished a week before.
Oh my God.
As a road to be used for logging. Which, I mean, technically, if you go to the turd fields, But so cars just start parking on the side of the road and people are walking in or hitchhiking in.
Oh, yeah.
Eventually, cars just start parking on the road because they are just...
Oh, my God. Oh
they
my
are
God.
just like, you can't get there from here. So people just...
Park the car.
car, hop off, and leave. Now, this also means that... or there's also a ton of rain happening.
Of course there is.
So everything is rainy and muddy. And that means that a ton of acts are dropping. It's harder to get there. They weren't expecting to be on Bull Island. They were expecting to be in Chandler, in the much bigger city. And so getting in and out and getting your gear and stuff in and out, way harder than expected. Also, they were paid for 55,000 people, and now they have to play for 300,000 people.
Wow.
So they are like, hey, we should be getting paid a little bit more.
Right.
So a lot of acts drop out because of that. And also because of all the rain, there's about an inch of water on the stage, and not all of the outlets are safe. It's not secure to play. Now, they also said that thing about how there would be food and drink at reasonable prices.
Yeah.
Guess how many food trucks?
3.
Hey, you're right!
Hey, I got a number right! Woo!
3, the Reese Catering Company, they have 3 food trucks. And they do not have enough money to feed all of these people. So a burger ends up being like $10, which is
$1972.
It's $57 in today's money for like.
Wow.
All right, you remember we went to the Eclipse. We got the really good $8 burger.
I know, and you got chips and a soda.
Really good. Imagine if they were like, oh yeah, we only have like 12 of these, and it's $57.
Wow.
So the crowd overtake the food trucks.
Of course they did.
They push them into a triangle and set them on fire.
Oh my God!
And just start handing out all of the food that is still left.
Oh my God!
This is day 2 out of 3.
Oh God! This is totally like you've watched something on
Firefest, right?
Firefest, and also the
literally-
second Woodstock that happened in the 90s.
The 99 one.
They were catching things on fire.
No, this is literally Firefest in that they are lighting things on fire. The planners at this point have bailed.
Oh, of course they have.
A whole lot of the bands have just bailed.
Yep.
Cheech and Chong show up.
Of course they do.
Via helicopter.
Oh my God!
They helicopter in. They take to the stage. They're supposed to have like about an hour and a half set. They do 15 minutes. They jump back on the helicopter and they bail. This is too heavy of a party for Cheech and Chong.
You're like, nope, I'm good.
Cheech and Chong noped out after 15 minutes. Middle of day 2, a cow is found in the middle of the field. It has been slaughtered, and they tried to cook it, but they couldn't get enough of a fire going to cook it all the way, so they just leave it like in the middle. Because of all the canceled acts, the people that are in charge of this, like the few adults left in the room, they have like 50 minutes at a time where everything is just empty. So they use this time to let all of the festival goers know where not to buy drugs. Because just like Woodstock, they have these big wooden wash tubs like you would use to water a cow if you didn't murder it. Full of sugar cubes laced with LSD. They're selling for like 25 cents a piece.
Oh my God!
So you have to pay $10 for a burger, but you can get a dose for like 25 cents. And it's really hard to get any kind of police there because as the book that I read for this said, Indiana didn't have jurisdiction and Illinois didn't have a navy. So they used the empty stage to talk about like what drugs you shouldn't buy. They do also, surprisingly, even though they're like short on hamburgers and short on restrooms and, short on roads, they do have an acid control center because it is 1972.
Right.
But the acid control center runs out of tests.
Oh no!
So you can't get your 25-cent acid tested. By day 3, only 2 bands are going to play.
Oh my God.
After that, and that's early in the day, and after that, the remaining concert goers take to the stage, trash it, and literally burn it to the ground. And then everybody's heading out. Which is the fun part, right?
No Lord of the Flies things happening here.
Well, almost all of the parked cars along the highway have been towed.
Oh my God.
Anyone that still actually has a car, well, you're going to get some hop-ons. There are pictures of 45, I don't think I have that one. I'll find one for you. But like anybody driving a car down the street, they're like literally physically having to like beat people off of their car.
Oh my God.
There are like 25 people clinging on to every vehicle trying to get down the road a little bit further. Because this is a long stretch of highway. It's something like 7 or 8 miles that everything was backed up. So there's tons of mess. There's tons of lawsuits. The FBI, the state of Indiana, the state of Illinois, everybody ends up like suing, the organizers, who get away with a fine, but not as much as what it cost. Although out of all those people, there were 2 fatalities.
Oh, wow.
1 OD and 1 person that drowned in the river because everybody was bathing and screwing in the river. Like,
of course, yeah.
There were so many yeast infections that came home that weekend.
Wow.
And the owner of the land opts to just bulldoze it. He just turns it all over and starts cleaning.
Nope, nothing happened here.
Now, here's the fun part of this story.
Okay.
Ryder's dad was there. He is, I believe, 86 now?
Yeah. And he was living in Mount Vernon at this time, too.
He was living in Carmi, Illinois. Southern Illinois. So like a smaller town even than Mount Vernon. But Ryder's dad just had a birthday, March 4th. And but like he was there. He is straight as an arrow, supremely logical. He's a CPA, just salt of the earth, an incredible father who, as he said in his own words, didn't really care for any of that type of music. But nevertheless, he and his brother-in-law, Ryder's mom's brother, Uncle Ed, they strapped a John boat onto the top of a Dodge Dart. And they took it over like onto the banks of the Wabash, parked the car, and then canoed over in a scene that Ryder says he imagines as like Washington crossing the Delaware. So I talked to Ryder's dad yesterday and had to get some first-hand accounts from him. He said that he said it was crowded as hell, and that he didn't really care for that kind of music, and he didn't recall who was playing, but that there were plenty of sights to see. So Ryder and I guess his Uncle Ed went off for a little while on his own. And
oh my God.
We don't know what he got up to, but I bet I can guess. Anyway, at the same time, too, because Carmi, Illinois was Southern Illinois, and that was kind of one of the closer medical facilities.
Oh, okay.
Ryder's grandma, Geraldine, was a nurse at the Carmi Hospital at the time.
Okay.
And she treated a whole lot of those people that were, like, coming in after the festival or, like, on their way home. And Ryder's mom was working there part-time.
Oh my God.
So she treated people too. Wow. Apparently they treated a whole lot of festival goers. And Grandma Geraldine was there a lot. And Beverly, Ryder's mom, was not there as often because she also had baby Ryder at home who was only 8 months old at this time.
That is a great
and that
story.
Is the story of the Erie Canal Soda Pop Festival.
It is a fantastic story. 250 to 300,000. Oh my
People,
God.
right. And the turd fields.
That is crazy.
I'm going to take Janet out back to the turd fields and feed her a $57 hamburger. And then we'll be back for What's Nice.
We'll be back for What's Nice. If you have suggestions, please email us at bigmuddymayhem@gmail.com. Make sure and join our Facebook page linked in the description. We have merch on sale, and that is also linked in the description, and this will help support our podcast. Also, leave us a 5-star review, as that helps support us as well. And now let's return to What's Nice.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
All right. Well, now it's time for What's Nice here.
Yes, I'm gonna.
And we're both in the state of Indiana
I know,
this week.
it's so weird.
No, but you tell me first.
Okay.
What do you got?
So my What's Nice is about the Brown County Historical Society near Nashville, Indiana. That's where Nashville, Indiana is located. They are open from May to November. Mm-hmm. They have an old log barn. They have an old log jail that you can tour. They also have, basically it's like they call themselves Pioneer Women, where they teach classes.
Oh, okay.
So
like just homesteading
kind
of?
like quilting, weaving, tatting, spinning, stuff like that, you know. And
nice.
so they enjoy doing that. On May 4th, they have a spring blossom parade.
Aw.
So that's kind of cool. I have some pictures here of the Historical Society as well. The Historical Society does have archives. They are open from Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. They have old court records, probate records, photograph collection.
I love an old small town museum. I don't even, even if there isn't what you would think of as a lot there, it is just, it's nice to get that kind of,
right,
like a bird's eye view of a small town in a small city.
Yeah, and they do also genealogy there.
Oh, wow, okay.
So they have a history library, basically, so you can do genealogy. And they have newspapers starting from like 1918.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so here's some of the pictures of the Pioneer
Oh,
Village.
my goodness. The old log barn, the old log jail. Somebody left an old log in the turd fields.
But, it's not a huge thing, but it's kind of fun,
It is kind of small. When that is kind of, boy, it was tough to come up with a What's Nice this week.
Right, and then there's some of the...
Pioneer Woman days. Oh my gosh, somebody with a spinning wheel.
Yeah.
Spinning their own yarn and all of that stuff, which these are dying arts.
Right, yeah.
So when somebody is willing to kind of, demonstrate how to do it and teach how to do it, then that's important.
Right. So right now their events for 2024 is May 4th. They have the Spring Blossom Parade. They have an open house on June 8th.
Okay.
They have classes in 2024. Most of them are already done. In February they had a binding by machine that was offered. They had a sassafras jig necklace class that happened in March. Coming up this coming weekend, they're going to have how to make a flower pouch. I don't know what that is.
I don't know either.
And then on May 8th, they're going to do a Norwegian-style decorative painting.
Oh my gosh.
So, and then here's one of the quilts.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful to be given away on June 8th. And it kind of does. We just did the eclipse, and these are like, there's lots of circles and they're kind of put into quadrants, and so it looks a little bit like
the eclipse.
Different phases of the moon.
Yep. So
so
that's why What's Nice. It seems like a neat little area. I was surprised on how many neat little things they had like that.
It is really lovely. And so the name of the town?
It's in Nashville.
In Nashville, Indiana.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Well, Janet, because we have the same things in mind, I looked at Carmi, Illinois, which is southern Illinois.
Sure.
And this is just kind of on the other side of the river. And Ryder, like I said, was born there. So technically my What's Nice is him. But, kiss, kiss. But what they do have over in Carmi, because there is not much over in Carmi, is they do have the Carmi Corn Days.
Oh, nice.
It is the second weekend of October. There's usually music. Nice. They nominate and elect a king and queen of corn.
Oh my God.
They have a float competition.
Aww.
They also compete for the best bike.
Okay.
The prettiest pet. And I don't know why this is, but the best clown costume. I just hope none of them are fucking a hand. And anyway, I have got just a couple of pictures of the Carmi Corn Festival for you.
Okay.
And I will show you just a couple of pictures of the float.
Yeah. Oh my God, they do floats. Well, kind of old school.
They do. It looks like an old school, like 1960s high school parade where they really.
They have that's a bug. It's a VFW bug, and they have a corn thing around it, so it looks like a cob of corn.
Right, and this one looks like it's done on like a flatbed truck or something like that, and they put all of the tissue paper and everything around it. And like I said, they do elect a king and queen of corn, and they have all kinds of different costume contests.
Oh my God.
And it looks like it would be a perfectly lovely day to go and spend. Like a little small town. From us here in St. Louis, Carmi is only, like a few hours away, maybe?
Yeah, probably, yeah.
And so it's in October. The weather will be good.
Yeah.
I bet you can probably eat some corn. There's probably all kinds of good corn to eat there.
Right.
And I would imagine that they probably do have porta potties, and you won't have to use the turd fields. And it might be fine. So
yeah, that sounds fun.
So October is going to be like coming up on 1 year for Big Muddy Mayhem. Maybe we can take a day trip out there.
Exactly.
We'll see.
That sounds awesome.
But that's my What's Nice in Carmi, Illinois.
Excellent. Well, I think this is where we end.
I think we've had a good time telling you stories today. Thank you so very much for spending time with us and listening. And please, if you haven't already, hop on, rate, review the podcast.
Yes.
And remember to keep, subscribing and tuning into us.
Right, and share. Tell your friends. If you have a friend that starts talking about, true crime, I'm like, I got a thing you should listen to.
Janet and I just made, little shout out to Sandy, right?
Yes.
If you're listening, we met you at the Gareth Reynolds show in Chicago this past weekend. And I hope you've tuned in. If you are, thank you so much.
We'll put a picture of the picture of Gareth.
The embarrassing picture.
It is not embarrassing. It's adorable.
It's just me blushing my face off.
It's a great picture.
All right. Well, anyway, I think that brings us to the end of the episode.
Yes.
And as always, we want to close off by telling you one thing.
Stay Midwest nice.
Stay Midwest nice.